Everyone has either heard of or watched the movie Saving Private Ryan, the story of a small squadron sent to retrieve a young soldier whose brothers have just been killed fighting Germany. But most haven't heard the real story, the story of the man which the movie was based on. This is the story of the real Private Ryan, Frederick Niland. And if you could, it'd be great if you could go ahead and press that subscribe button, because if you enjoy nerding out over stuff like this, like I do, we kind of do that here. So subscribing would be pretty cool. Frederick Niland was born on April 23rd of 1920. The son of Michael Niland, Frederick had three brothers, Edward, Preston, and Robert. The four brothers were raised in the small town of Tonawanda, New York, which, according to a census at the time, had a population of only about 10,000. Frederick was the youngest of the four brothers, and all of them enlisted to fight after the United States joined World War II in 1941. The brothers were not assigned to the same unit, however, with Preston assigned to the 22nd Infantry Regiment and the 4th Infantry Division. Edward was assigned to a B-25 in the Air Force. Robert fought in the 505th Infantry Division and the 82nd Airborne, and Frederick himself was in the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment and the 101st Airborne Division. All four were set to take part in Operation Overlord, or in other words, D-Day essentially, which was the Allies' plan to take back Normandy. However, when the invasion commenced in June of 1944, things took a turn for the worst for the family. And on June 6th of 1944, Robert Niland was killed. He had volunteered to stay back with Corporal James Kelly while his unit retreated from a position. Robert manned his machine gun and was able to hold off the German advance long enough for the rest of his unit to escape until they were finally overrun and Robert was killed while manning his weapon. And less than 24 hours later, on June the 7th, Preston was killed as well. He died while attempting to take a German artillery position known as Crisbeck Battery. The battery itself held 3 Nazi-operated guns. The maximum range of the artillery pieces was around 21 miles, which, on the first day of the invasion, was being used to shell Allied forces that were attempting to take the beaches at Normandy. However, in May of 1944, the other brother, Edward, had been shot down and captured over Burma. However, it was reported by the higher-ups in the military that he had been killed in action. But in reality, he was just being kept in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. So now put yourself in Frederick's shoes. He doesn't know that Edward is still alive, so at the time that he's hearing of Robert and Preston's death, he assumes that all 3 of his brothers have been killed in action effectively. And then 9 days after D-Day, Frederick would be sent back to the US to serve as an MP until the end of the war. And then, almost a year later, his brother is liberated from the Japanese camp and returned home. Now, when Frederick's story made its way to the higher-ups of the military, he was awarded a Bronze Star for his service because, it's an absolutely incredible story. And then finally, in 1988, one of the most iconic war movies of all time, Saving Private Ryan, was released. And then that movie was based on the real-life story of the 4 Niland brothers. Now, the reason I was a bit vague with some of my descriptions of the events is because I really couldn't find a lot about the 4 brothers. And what I could find really wasn't that well documented. All it really told me was where the event happened, when it happened, and the things leading up to it, which I feel like for a story this iconic and well-known, there isn't much known about it, which is weird to me, because Saving Private Ryan is one of the biggest movies of all time, in my opinion. At least one of the biggest war movies of all time. It's one of my favorites. But the fact that the real story isn't as well documented as the events in the movie seems a bit unfair to me. Now, of course, I know that the movie is a dramatization, and it's, again, loosely based on the story of the Niland brothers, but the amount of people that I talked to before making this video that didn't know the story of the real Niland brothers, not that Private Ryan was based on, Frederick, it shocked me, to be completely honest, because a movie that iconic, that is based on, I get loosely based on, but still based on a true story, the amount of people that don't know the real story was shocking to me. Now, that being said, what a tragic story. 4 brothers go off to war, 2 come back. That is just the most, like, it really humanizes war when you think about it, and conflict, because it's easy to look at, casualty numbers and, human costs, and it's just a number on a screen. But when you actually read about the people involved and realize that these were not just numbers, these were people with families and brothers and parents and all that. And it's truly a tragedy, the story of the Niland brothers, because of course it's in Saving Private Ryan, it's portrayed as this, this epic, this story of heroics by a small squadron sent to rescue this kid whose brothers have been killed. But the real story is much sadder, and I feel like that can't go unnoticed. So yeah, that is the story of the real Private Ryan. Thank you so much for watching. I apologize if this video was a bit of a downer, and I know I got a bit depressing there at the end, but I do appreciate you watching this far, and if you want to see more of this kind of content, definitely let me know, because I enjoy making it. And now that being said, that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.